Hello. Anybody gone through BA book yet? Have you started reading BA book? Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Have you started studying the BA book, which I've shared earlier?
Yeah, I went through it, but I haven't like gone to it in too much detail yet.
Have you gone through the knowledge areas, what we were discussing currently?
Yeah, briefly, I've just like scanned it right now.
Sure, no problem. This is a kind of, I'll say, need of the hour, because we need to understand these knowledge area, and this is what make us actual intention, the templatization, and actual required tools and technique possible. So unless you understand these six knowledge area,
Mhm.
it's difficult to apply the tools to it, right? So something like that. So if you know the basic intention, then we can build these tools on uh, these requirements, as whatever we're going to do in this knowledge area, and then we can choose the tools accordingly. Okay, so let's get started. Let's revise this knowledge area quickly. The first one is BA planning and monitoring. As a business analyst, I do my planning ahead of time. I do my even build some monitoring techniques, so that I can understand how the process are we moving in the right direction, who are the actual stakeholders to check. We've seen the inputs outputs, so there are needs, wants, wish list, and overall performance objective. So needs, wants are basically functional requirement, performance objective are basically non-functional requirements. And then we normally go ahead with the 5 tasks as per depicted by PM book. Plan business analyst approach, plan stakeholder engagement, plan business analysis governance. What happened? Okay, and plan analysis information, plan and business analysis information management, and identify business analyst performance improvement, right? And we normally get 5 outputs out of these 5 processes, 5 tasks. Like we build business analyst approach, we build stakeholder engagement approach, we build stakeholder list, we build our business analyst governance approach, we build information management approach, the storage on the cloud, which cloud to use, and blah 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 things, who should get the right access, modify access, and so on and so forth. We build business analysis performance assessment as well. So if we are working as a team lead of a business analyst, or me working as a business analyst, I normally keep track of whatever activities I do. Am I doing it with optimum efficiency? How can I improve myself? And those scenarios basically, right? Then we had a look at a knowledge area second, called elicitation and collaboration. So we normally elicit the thought process of given by the visionary. We normally collaborate with the visionary, and if you look at the agile methodology, the scaled agile methodology, we normally closely work with our client nowadays. We are flexible enough to understand the business changes in terms of inputs and output, the needs, wants, wish, business analyst information, stakeholder engagement approach, business analyst performance assessment. Okay, so we try to prepare the for the elicitation, try to understand whatever we discussed in the meeting, we try to jot down the minutes of meeting, we try to convert the minutes of meeting into requirement, then to the functionalities, and then try to build a high level diagram, try to explain the requirements as it came from the client, try to share the even background information with the development team, so that whatever we do in terms of business alignment, we are uh, almost on the mark of the business alignments what we've started working on. So those kind of scenario, the task we do here, we prepare for business elicitation. We might choose certain dictionary which are very good for a given domain, be it medicinal or healthcare domain, be it something like banking domain, be it something like technical domain or information technology domain, military domain. They have their own dictionaries available for us, and we try to use this dictionary so that we can interpret the words shared by the visionaries in depth. We also can understand the options better in those kind of aspects. uh, Conduct elicitation. Elicitation is process basically converting the thought process of a visionary to the IT team, so that they can understand the background as well as whatever requirement shared with us. Then confirm elicitation result. We normally get these confirmed by the client. So this is what the vision you shared, this is what we call it in our day-to-day activities, but this is what you shared in simple English, and this is what we understood. Are we in line? Yes, so please, approve these things, something like that sort. And we have, different processes depending upon the culture, depending upon the, policies and procedure of organizations we are working with. Communicate business analyst information. We normally transfer these business analysis information on documents, Word document called SRS system requirement specification. We also include high level diagram. We also include use case diagram. We also include a couple of good tools. We use couple of good tools so that there should be no confusion, there should be no gray areas, no option of choosing other thought process. So those kind of scenario, we make sure whatever we conceived, whatever we understood from the business visionaries, we put it on a paper, we get it approved, and then without any doubt we share with the technical team. And we also closely work with technical team in a capacity of advisor after technical team takes charge of building the product, constructing the services, supporting the product, whatever as per the need of the client, vision, mission, and all those things. The outputs elicitation activity plan, it can be as simple as an Excel sheet or as a detail as a Word document, depending on the scenario, policies, and procedure of the organizations. Elicitation result, unconfirmed, we try to even document the unconfirmed result. If we basically phase it out, like phase one consideration of this part of the vision, and then phase two the remaining, and so on and so forth. So we might jot down approximate plan, or we normally call it ballpark plan or ballpark estimation to the development team, so that they can understand the girth, the length and width of the requirement, and they try to basically start building the product according to the business alignments. That's the most important need. And there are quite a few number of projects which are failure in the history. That's why we normally try to make sure, or try to use all the tools, efforts and efficiencies to build a correct vision, or to document the correct vision, and then ship this vision to the development team, right? And then we have business analysis information communicated. This is predominantly talks about the SRS as a document. Every organizations have their own SRS template. I will share a generic SRS template with you, which is normally used by Microsoft. And we go through each and every what you can say chapter and paragraph they have templatized to do. The templatizations give a disciplinary approach, so that whatever documents you created, they are quite disciplined in terms of organizational policies and procedure. So they have a good understanding of what's needed, what's we can exclude, and those scenario depending upon their previous projects. And this again targets to a specific domain. This again targets to a specific business alignments, so that we shouldn't miss the critical or crucial part. And then also we do the stakeholder engagement. We build a list of stakeholder, jot down the criticality, jot down the contact information, jot down the preferences, and so on and so forth. So this way we try to build a complete gamut of business analysis policies, procedures and tools, so that the information captured from a client, the visionary, have to be documented in a conclusiveness, conciseness, and then transferred to the development team. Addition to that, we also work with the development team in an advisory capacity, so that if anything is missed out, we can fill in the gap, or if anything is misunderstood, we can fill in the gap and make sure it's completely aligned with the business thought process, business requirements. The third knowledge area, requirements lifecycle management. Here we try to build something called RTM, requirement traceability matrix. Whatever we discussed in a meeting has to be traced with the functionality in the product. If not, then we should be give a reason when the client basically asks to phase it out, when the client asks to remove it from the overall stack of requirements. And we normally also include this thing in some document called requirement traceability matrix. It can be as simple as Excel sheet. We've seen the video of Excel sheet as RTM. There could be Word document, or there are web application available for RTMs as well. Nowadays, mostly people use Jira. Jira has a extensive RTM, web pages, so that you can, collect the action point in the minutes of meeting and target it to the functionality in the product, and then target it to the results of functionality implemented in the product, solution, or services, something like that sort. So there are really mature tools available as of today. We're going to study Jira in our project management capsule. Okay, let's try to understand trace requirement, maintain requirements, prioritize the requirement, assess the requirement change, and approve the requirements. all these 5 entities are included in the RTM, requirement traceability matrix, right? The output is RTM traced, designs traced. Even there are traceability matrix for design wherever you do design crucial type of applications, solutions. Like if you're doing a project of a building construction, the design or the blueprint of a building does carry a lot of weightage. So wherever you change those designs, they are also traced. We track down the changes in the designs so that we could understand how the overall final design have been shaped up by the client. What were the background? What were the reasons? If there any scope or schedule change, we can note those things as well, right? And then we maintain these requirement traceability and design traceability document. We also prioritize them. We also note down the change. We keep assessment in terms of how the requirements or how the design changes have been progressed over the time, over the course of the project, solution, or the building construction. Then we had look at the fourth knowledge area called strategy analysis. This is predominantly the business analysis, the business of a business analyst, frankly speaking. So this is basically we are trying to analyze the business needs at the crux, and these are typically targets to the long-term goals. So if we are working with a company, let's say an auto company, and they are trying to build an electric car now, that'll be their strategy to create alternative power source car. So they start with solar, they then move to some battery pack, then they move to some how to try other energy sources, and they get these things tested. So they work closely with R&D. Even R&D is a project, research and development. So we do research for how to implement batteries in our new electric car. And this is what we normally talk about, the long-term goal strategic analysis. The strategic analysis inputs are the needs, wish list, discussions, action points discussed in minutes of meeting. Then the influences, internal, external. Internal will be building brand, improving the efficiency, improving the cost lines. External can be build a monopoly, build a good market, target a good market, and so on and so forth. Then we normally also include the stakeholder engagement here in terms of various other departments heads also. Normally strategy concerns to the top management of a given organization. So this is really important. So this stakeholder management normally includes quite a good number of meetings, good number of understanding of a personal vision, and get aligned with the business vision, those kind of scenarios. Elicitation results, whatever vision have been documented to be elicited in a normal development teams, language development team verbose, so that they could understand. Then these elicitation results normally get approved by the client, stamped by the client, and agreed to that by the client. Same thing with the designs as well in case of design crucial product supports or services. And then we prioritize this requirement. We are going to understand prioritization of a requirement in a tool called Microsoft Project. And we also closely work with Jira on prioritization of requirement, or this is what we call project plan building, or executing the activities, executing the task as per the prioritized in the requirement scenario, right? The task we do in strategic analysis are analyze current state, define future state, and assess the risk. And here the risks are basically in an assumption manner. So whenever you assume, there's a risk, right? If I assume I'll get my salary today, then I'm building a risk there. If my salary doesn't come today, I might be faulting on my payments, whatever due today, right? So those kind of scenario. So this way, we need to understand the assumption. So here, these risks normally means the assumption which we made during requirement collection, during the initial discussion of the project phase, project scope building, and so on and so forth. So we try to basically convert these into a risk analysis as well. We're going to study the risk analysis in depth whenever we're going to do the project management, tools and technology. There's a complete knowledge area of a risk management in our project session capsules, right? Analyze current state. So how does strategy work? You normally analyze the current stage. You normally take wherever you start, wherever you want to reach, those kind of scenario. So analyze current state, define the future state, assess the risk, define the change strategy. This is what we normally call as a gap analysis. So here Even in addition to requirement specification, we also build a gap analysis, or it can be included in the one document also, depending upon the company you're working with, the templates they are using, right? So those kind of scenario. The outputs here are current state description, business requirements, business objectives, future state description, potential value, risk analysis result, change strategy, and solution scope. They are mentioning risk analysis results because you start with assumption, you jot down the risk, you give a weightage to risk, you prioritize the risk, you build some risk mitigation strategy. And all these points are covered in depth in our risk analysis knowledge area. So we'll wait till that time. How to build the risk register. The list of risk is called risk register, and so on and so forth. So there's a complete defined process as far as risk goes. The strategy driven by the top management is very crucial for a business. So understanding the current state of business, current state where the product problem solution have been envisioned is quite important for the life of the project, right? And then we basically build business requirement on based of those backgrounds, those vision, those needs which are basically declared by the business people, and then build business objectives on that, create a future state description, devise a gap strategy, gap analysis, build a potential value to this solution vision, and do a risk analysis from the assumptions we collected. Try to understand the change strategy, build some gap analysis, do solution scoping, and the other things as per the requirement of the policies and procedures we are adopted wherever we are working for. Now, let's go to knowledge area 5, requirement analysis and design definition. Now, we are trying to basically do a requirement analysis. We came to a level, we are understood the vision, mission. We have elicited the vision to a requirement, to a thought process, to a normal English which is adaptable by development team, and we try to build a detailed analyze requirements. What it means, you normally go with one requirement at a time. You try to make it as described as possible, as required for the development team. Try to collect all gaps and gray areas, so that wherever you give these requirements to the development team, they could be able to start working on them, or these requirements could be easily converted to the functionalities for a given product, support, or services, something like that sort, right? And we build design definition. Well, design definition in the sense, you might build a tagline saying, okay, I'm doing a solution for enhancing attendance management. That clearly depicts what the overall intention of a solution is, or the business alignment of a solution is, right? We are at a stage where we are trying to build this requirement analysis and trying to create a design definition. At this point, we are trying to build overall a high level diagram or a high level approach of a solution, so that we could understand in depth how the business alignments are going to shape up for a current construction of a product, project, or services, what are going to being created by the development team. This is at a high level. We are not a designers or architect, we are analysts, so we analyze these things, right? Any confusion so far? Anybody have any question for me at this moment?
No, thank you.
Okay, let's take a step further and try to understand the input output parameters of this requirement analysis and design definition type of knowledge area. So requirement, they specifically mention any state, means you keep modifying this requirement. Nowadays we work on a project methodologies called agile, collaborative, flexible, and so on and so forth. So we normally adopt to the change in the business, we adopt to the requirement change also. That's why there's a clear mention of any state, any stage, and those kind of scenario. So requirements, we are talking about improving requirement, flexibility in requirement, building, or what you can say, managing the change in the requirement itself. And then information management approach. As we've discussed, we create an action list, how to approach this requirement. Let's say if you are using a biometric, if you're using biometric, which type of biometric company have been chosen? Are there options available? Then let's check out for the functionality versus cost, and those scenarios as well. You document those things. It can be documented as a simple steps you took in Excel sheet, or you can create a complete good activity diagram in this scenario, or you can create a SWOT analysis or a fishbone diagram as per the need and policies and procedure of a client. Elicitation result, whatever you understood the vision, converted it to the domain English, whatever the development teams have been using, and making sure they understand these elicitation approach, they understand the actual requirement with the background itself. So they are completely aligned with the business requirement. Build a potential value. Try to, give more and more alignment to the business, so they can leverage this product for their business uses. This is the basic intention of a business, to make profit, right? How do you make profit? To make the product, to create a product, to devise a product solution or services, so that the customers can be benefited. So we need to build this value for the customer. This is what they call potential value. This is what the value is envisioned by the business people. Build solution scope. Solution scope is basically a kind of what are the task and activity you're going to perform to make sure the product, the project, the solution, the services are being created step by step in an iterative way. We're going to learn about solution building in the first few stages of our project management seminar, which will be in a couple of sessions afterwards. Then build a change strategy. How are you going to adopt the change? If you are changing from one state to another, try to understand how the business will adapt to these changes. You can't just take this product and start working. No, you need to train them. You need to understand them, how the customers can be can shift from the older product to the new product. Are they going to need any training to adapt to these solutions, and so on and so forth. So we need to devise this change in strategy. So there could be training involvement. There could be making understanding of the menus, the buttons, and what this button does, what that form does, who approves these things, and those kind of all activities which are involved in changing from one state to another. So those kind of strategic documentation also required in quite a few times. And the senior analysts, they can guide you on that, how you basically build these gap study analysis type of documents, or how even requirement analysis document can be inclusive of training requirements, the user maturity level for a given product, and the other environmental factors as well. The tasks we perform in requirement analysis and design definitions are specify and model the requirements. Specify the requirement in the sense, just create a list of requirement, model the requirement in terms of diagrams, in terms of any supporting environmental depictions. Like you might draw a UML diagram, use case diagram, where you build some actors, you build some use cases to be executed by them, you build some exception, you build some priorities, you build some scenarios. These type of model gives a clear idea to the development team of how the requirement is being captured and how the things actually should work in your software, or how the product has to be built from the requirement, and the flora and fauna of it, right? So we build some requirement list, we build some modeling diagrams, we build some model to depict the nooks and corners of these requirements. Verify requirements, get these even diagrams validated by the client, guide them on UML, how UML is being depicted, and all those things as well. Get this thing approved, verify requirements, validate requirements, talk to the user, plan some meeting, and make sure whatever they have said is completely or concisely covered in terms of these requirements. And then define requirement architecture. This is again, we are moving to a solution where we try to build it conceptually. So build a conceptual requirement architecture. We might build some couple of blocks only, and this is what we call high level diagram. We build a solution conceptually with some modules, with some basic intention of how you can create this solution more appropriately in terms of phase wise, in terms of different teams working on different modules, different blocks of this solution, and so on and so forth. So this defined requirement architecture talks about a high level architecture approach to be built for the solution. Define design options. If there are alternatives, like we discussed in terms of biometrics, should we choose biometric? Should we shoot the retina scan? Should we have a full body scanner for the enhancing attendance management solution type of thing, right? So here we need to give them options. Why we choose biometric? Why we choose iris scanner? give them option, give them data points where they could understand why we gone for a ID scanner, why we not gone for the fingerprint scanner, which is much cheaper than ID scanner, almost 1/3 of a cost. Why not? And those kind of scenario, we will documentation for that as well. You might draw a simple diagram called strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. It's called SWOT diagram. It's quite common diagram followed in business analysis space. We're going to do a hands-on and SWOT analysis also, and we try to build some SWOT analysis type of options, study their weightages across those four quadrants, right? And then analyze potential value and recommend solution. This is the defined design options are basically kind of auditory artifact to come to a conclusion where you recommend a solution, right? And that's how we normally suggest this solution development to the actual team, the development team, which is ready for them. So they just start constructing, they just start implementing, right? Those kind of scenario. So even we bring the efficiencies to the whole product project or solution development, and that's how these analysis are really a crucial part of a solution inception. That's what the business thinks and business say. That's why they have created a separate analyst team from the project management team, so that we can spend a good amount of time, we can spend a good amount of interest in actually understanding the solution, understanding the vision, building the solution to a conceptual level. And then the development team can basically get each and everything validated from a client by closely working with him. So that's why we choose approach like agile approach, agile scrum approach, and so on and so forth. Okay, any confusion till this point?
No, thank you.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Means we are trying to understand all the 6 knowledge area which addresses all the nooks and corner of a given agile business analysis process, right? So let's try to understand the outputs of a requirement analysis and design definition. There are 6 outputs expected out of these things. Well, in some scenario there could be 5, there could be 4, depending upon the organizational policies and procedures they've adopted. Here they are trying to cover each and everything, but practicability, we can ignore a couple of documents, or these documents can be clubbed to one document also, depending upon how your organizations follows the template, how the organizations have been matured to create these documents, because documents are there to support the processes, right, or to define the processes. Unless and until it's needed, we normally try to live with the least possible documentation, because documentation takes time, right? Every time you generate some document, there are some efforts needed, right? Somebody has to author it, somebody has to review it, somebody has to approve it, and these kind of scenario takes some time. So wherever you document, we try to make sure we take more interest in construction, creation, building than documentation. Documentation, yes, it's a part of required approaches, required understanding, required progress of the whole solution building, project building, and all these dependent processes also. Okay, so documenting and efficiency balancing is one of the most crucial tasks as far as analysis process goes. Let's try to understand from the output of these knowledge area. Requirements. Now here we are specified, approved, or modeled requirement we are talking about. These requirement documents normally included in our system requirement specification. We call it SRS, right? If a client or the customer builds this requirement specification, the document is called business requirement document, BRD, which is handed over to the engagement partner, like State Farm giving a BRD to the Infosys. But this process, most of the time, as the client is non-technical person, so they don't normally work on BRDs. We normally discuss with them. We devise BRD through the minutes of meeting, and we convert these minutes of meeting to the requirement and to the functionalities, right? And so we have this requirement specification built, model, and then verified by the client, approved by the client, validated by the client, and then we build a conceptual architecture. We build high-level diagrams. We we analyze for options available for the design which we are supporting. So if there are 3 options, we normally build an Excel sheet with option 1, option 2, option 3, and the points depicting why I have chosen option 1 or option 2 or option 3. This way, we normally give the solution recommendation also, right? So this is how the overall, analysis, requirement analysis and design definitions is being, resulted to a complete system requirement specification document, which is authored by the business analyst. These are own document by the business analyst, right? And the others are in advisory capacity. The SRS normally gets, converted to the functional requirement specification. This is converted by the designers and the architect. So they start building this product. They build the blueprint of the product, solutions or services, whatever are being constructed, right? So for that scenario, those designs architects are the owners of those FRS. As far as SRS goes, the system requirement specification, BA, you and me are the owners of this document. We build these various release, and SRS, as we say, is a release document. So we create a document, we release it on a day, we timestamp it. So that document have been numbered or labeled so. So there's a document on 1st September 2021 is normally timestamped so. So whenever somebody is referring to the requirement specification document, they normally go with the timestamp, or if you're given a label like, phase explained in SRS so and so. And so, those kind of labels are also common, but normally they are explained in terms of timestamp also, because nowadays we are working remotely, right? So those scenario, the computer can easily understand timestamps. Timestamps are date, time, hours, minute, milliseconds. And that complete thing basically constitutes a timestamp. It can be as simple as a number, a long number given in at the document table, or a computer can convert this timestamp to a human understandable entity, which can be something like 16th September 7 a.m. On Thursday early morning at so and so millisecond, we have logged this document and we have released to the development team. Those kind of scenario. So depending upon the policies and procedure adopted by the technology partner, they normally have a way to timestamp an SRS and depict the release of that SRS. Right? Any confusion so far? Anything you need further details into that? All these documents play a crucial part in management also. So we're going to revise this thing whenever we're going to do the project management also. It's a complete evolution of a process. Understand the vision, convert it to a requirement, build the functionality, and then on the basis of functionality, build the project plan. So in the functionality, we normally depict the constructions with the activities, the things to be built, the task allocated to a particular resource, and then plan those tasks and activities with the name of resources, with the man, material, machine, resources, whatever allocated to create, produce, or support these tasks. And that's why we build the project plan. And that's what we're going to learn in our project management capsule. Okay. Any question for me as of now?
No, thank you.
Have you understood what we are trying to, do here in these knowledge areas of business analyst? Anybody? Could you listen? Could you hear me out clearly?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the last knowledge area is solution evolution. This describes the task that business analysts perform to assess the performance and value delivered by a solution. Now this is what we normally closely work with the development team. So after giving the SRS to the development team, they normally evolve the SRS to a design, architecture, functional specifications, and so on and so forth. FRS is functional requirement specification. So all the requirements of functionality we given to the development team, they create a document called FRS, which is a kind of Bible for construction, Bible for building, Bible for support services, and all those things, right? So those services, product or solution built on that based on FRS. Now, whenever we develop these solutions, we as a business analyst, we work in an advisory capacity. So we guide the development team. This is right, this is wrong. This is what we are completely aligned with the business solution. These options can deviate from the business solution requirement and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, this result, what we are trying to expect is the solution evolution as per the business requirements, as per the business wanted, as per the business wish list have been clearly depicted in our first MOM. So we evolve the solution to a level where we can support that business vision, where we can support that whatever we have targeted to do has been achieved to a great extent, and we have all these auditory facts to support that. Whatever we created as a minutes of meeting, whatever we created as a UML diagram, whatever we created as a high level diagram, the functional requirement specification and all those things are part of the whole creation journey of the solution, whatever we are developing it. And this is why we have a 6 knowledge area as a solution evolution. How do we achieve it? Well, we do help testers, we do help validator to make sure whatever we check, we test, we validate are in line with the business. And this is what we call test cases. We're going to learn about the test cases in test management scenario in project management. So how do you test it? We call it proactive testing as an defect prevention, and reactive testing as a QA, QC, quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance is a proactive testing, so that we'll make sure we don't miss anything. Like we build the SRS, like we build the use case diagram, like we build the high level diagram. These are what we call proactive quality assurance. Then we go to a level, we start constructing. At that time, we keep checking if whatever we are building, if whatever we are constructing is in line with whatever we have been documented earlier. And that means we are quality controlling it. We are controlling the quality of the produce. We are controlling the quality of the solution. Let's try to understand in input-output way. So we basically build a solution, right? This is kind of external. So the development team does it. Current state of description. So where does solution stand? Is it in a process of building, or have we built the solutions completely? Have all phases has been addressed? Yes. So apply the test cases accordingly. Try to validate with the business objective. Test cases are nothing with the business objectives, right? They want screen on Android to be green. This was a business objective. This was a requirement given by the business. Now I need to make sure if the screen is green or not, right? And this is what I call test cases. I'm just giving you an example. Nobody wants screen in green. Well, there are a couple of culture, they want the screen in green, but normally screens are in lighter colors, like a shade of white, mostly off white or something like that. So, right? Then we have potential value. Is the business value what is expected have been addressed by the solutions, whatever we created? Those kind of checks and balances also we do, right? And that's how the business analyst is completed for a given product, or understanding the evolution of a product from a vision to the actual product delivery, and a support and a training, and those all environmental factors attached to it. Let's try to understand in terms of what are the tasks we need in this knowledge area of solution evolution. Measure the solution performance. Is the solution performing as per the required benchmark? These are specifically related to the non-functional requirement. Does the candidate can mark his attendance within few seconds as requested by client? Like if client wants to request the iris scanner within max 20 seconds. Normally iris scanners takes around 4.5 to 6 seconds, but coming near to the reader, put your eye and all those things, the total time requirement is around 20 to 25 seconds at the max. And that's how the efficiency of a product working also does matter, right? And these are the type of performance requirement are normally given by client to you. I'm just sharing an example with you, right? So does it work with that whatever the client have been specified of the performance requirement? That's what we check. And these are called integration test cases or performance test cases most of the time, or the stress case test cases. These, whenever we run, there can be an automated test run or there can be a manual test run. In automated test run, the software checks for such test cases. In terms of enhancing attendance management solution, we have to check it manually. how the iris scanners are performing. Are they in line with the thought process or the requirements shared by the client earlier? Those kind of scenario. Analyze performance measures. If there are any additional performance measures. So if there are, let's say, 3,000 employee of a state farm at a given office of St. Louis. So how effectively these solutions are being performing? Do I require one iris scanner? Do I require 6 iris scanner? How many doors should be covered with this iris scanner so that we can have the scanning done parallelly, so that the employee don't have to wait to get his iris scanned, right? As simple as that. So these type of performance measures which are already depicted and documented, we need to make sure they are covered in the solution implementation phase as well. Assess solution limitation. Try to analyze the limitation. Even after delivering the solution, we try to analyze the limitation. We try to improve it. This can be a second project. This can be a second project by itself, and we might support. We might go through the complete cycle. Again, try to analyze the requirement. Try to build design documents. Try to develop some supporting scenario for this project as well. So instead of Philips iris scanner, I might take Sony iris scanner. It might be faster or something like that, sir. So I try to assess the solution limitation and try to give solution to have a better and efficient solution day by day. This is what the most important requirement for continuing engagement with the technical partners. This is a kind of bread and butter for all IT companies. We keep enhancing the solution. We keep suggesting better and better solution, if it is efficient solution, new technology adoptions, and this way we improvise our solution day by day, right? And then we assess enterprise limitation also. So like we said, in St. Louis area for a state farm, if they have 3,000 employees, I should have at least 10 scanner, so that no employee should be wait to get his retina scanned, right? Or I can have a retina scanner on each floor or on each gate, depending on my discussion with the top management and the cost constraint. I normally devise this solution for a given instance. And business analysts are really a crucial part of such solution evolution, right? Recommend actions to increase the solution value. Means we keep recommending solution enhancement. We keep acting on behalf of a client. How can I utilize this solution better day by day? Something like that. So if you have an electric car, it needs charging, right? Every electric cars need charging after some time. So are there enough charging stations? This is a really current crucial problem, because there are electric cars like Tesla and all also, but still they need some charging, right? At the end of the day, if the car is not charged, if the fuel is not filled in the car, it can't work. It's simple dumb machine, right? So for that, what I do, I need to have more fueling station, more charging station. And once I enhance to that level where everybody can get charged at the time they have required, I have addressed that. I have recommended those actions and I have addressed that action. I have also increased the solution value. So now everybody can buy an electric car and work on it, right? So these type of tasks I need to address, and let's try to understand the output we are gaining out of these tasks performed. Solution performance measure. So there should be a document called performance requirement. We create enhanced performance measure. So we update our SRS, or we add a chapter in our SRS called enhanced solution performance measures. So here we depict, should we use the Sony iris scanner? Why we should go for a Sony rather than Philips? Because Philips scanner is really economical, but still there are some performance challenges. It takes almost complete 20 to 25 seconds sometimes to get the iris scan. So we can do it in few seconds lesser. Well, the cost is it justified for the solution? We present the alternative to the management, and then management decides. And so the solution performance can be analyzed and improved. Even we try to address the solution limitations. Like if the client have discussed a solution or recommended a solution which we implemented might not up to the mark for a given area, might not work with the current problems in hand. So we might basically try to resolve those limitations, right? If there are enterprise limitations, like there are various offices of a state farm where there are 3 or 4 employees only. So we don't need too many iris scanner there. a one simple iris scanner can do, or one simple iris scanner attached to a terminal will do. You don't have to really, create this terminal at every door of the office, right? So those kind of scenarios. So we need to address these limitations. We need to recommend these actions so that the solution value is increased and they can utilize this solution in the best efficient possible way. This is the most crucial continuously evolving knowledge area which work with product creation, solution creation, and services creations life cycle as well. So these solution evolution knowledge area is a kind of closely working with advisory capacity with the project development team talks about. Does that make sense? Have you understood what I'm trying to say here?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
explain in your word, how do you as a business analyst can perform the last knowledge area when we talk about solution evolution? How you can support solution evolution? You can take an example of your what you're working, if you ever work, and please try to explain in your words like how this solution evaluation is understood by you. Or you can take a hypothetical case as well, an example for that matters. Can anybody do that? Give it a try. Don't think too much. There's no wrong here. We are trying to explain our thought process, our understanding in our own word. I can understand you might not talk the technical language as we have included in this presentation. But at the end of the day, I should start somewhere, right? So could you please start expressing your thought process for solution evolution? Anybody? Have you understood, or I'm going too fast for you? Means that will be my question then. If nobody can explain. Yes, Sairam sir, please go ahead. Nobody can explain, man. What do you understand by solution evolution? Let's start from there. Anybody can explain in his own terms what is solution evolution? There are two English words, solution and evolution. What do you understand by solution evolution? Anybody? Give it a thought. Give it a try, please.
The solution is the final product which we are after the requirements, after the development team has developed the solution, the requirements of the clients.
Great.
The final solution. So the business analyst team, along with the testers, they will evaluate, they'll verify whether the requirements have been met. They'll be validating the requirements. They'll see like whether it is meeting all the performance requirements. Are they meeting the standards of the client, or are there any limitations? So they'll assess that.
Right. Perfect.
So it's
You
just
correctly explained. Yeah. That's really right. And you normally closely work with them in an advisory capacity. Very, very rightly said. But I believe you have done business analysis, so you can express in the technical terminology. I want somebody to explain in normal layman's language, so that if there are any gaps in understanding, we can dwell more on this.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to try? This is really great explanations, ma'am, and we can understand. Your experience speaks for itself. Yes, anybody else? Please keep trying. Otherwise, we'll just sit on the bank of the river and waiting for the fish. Please try yourself. Anybody?
Basically, it's the final due diligence then.
Right? Yeah, final due diligence. That's correct word, right, sir? Please explain it more.
Well, just to make sure that everything, like you're saying, that everything has been covered, whatever was discussed in the initial meeting, all the way till the end with the final product, making sure we're on the same page, that there's nothing missing, there's no missing links,
Right.
and that the value has been created for the client, basically.
Perfect. And let me tell you, the sixth knowledge area is normally missed in the interview by many analysts. Believe me, because they forgot. Like our responsibility doesn't end at the end of requirement analysis. There's a phase called requirement analysis in a project. be it agile, be it waterfall. Well, waterfall, we used to do something like, switch over. Whenever you collected requirements, switch over to the development. But nowadays there are overlaps, or we do it iteratively. So there are many cycles, right? So as an analyst, we should understand our task doesn't end after giving SRS to the development team. We closely work with the development team to make sure they are completely aligned with whatever requirement we have collected. Something like that sort. And Mr. Hassan, you tried really well. And this is what I expected, because unless and until you can express yourself, it's really difficult to make sure you understood, right? Because that's also my responsibility to make sure you understood what we are, sharing the knowledge here, right? So this gives me immense pleasure to understand something from you, and I can correct then and there if you are missing certain beats, right? So something like that sort. And thanks for the explanation. Anybody else want to try? See, there's nothing wrong here. Unless and until you explain, I couldn't understand whatever you understood, right? So for that matter, I would like you to keep trying, explaining your thought process, so that I'm very sure, I'm confident that you can explain as well. Interview is a process where you explain your thought process to all these guys, right? So unless and until you practice to explain, interview will be a difficult challenge for you. And that's a kind of first step, right? So we have to prepare for clearing those interviews also. So this is a part of the whole process. So unless and until you express your thoughts, it's difficult to understand by other people, like the things, right? So that's why please make a practice, take down some notes. You can repeat whatever sentences I've said if you understood it correctly, right? So those kind of scenario. So I would really request, I would really insist, start speaking up, start sharing whatever you understood. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So please, I would really request you. So let's take a step ahead. Now we're going to understand different policies, procedures, and tools we use in these 6 different knowledge area. Now let's try to understand how these knowledge areas are connected as we work in an iterative life cycle. So you can see the complete cycle here, right? The circles. We do business analyst planning and monitoring. Then we work on the requirement lifecycle management. We also work with requirement analysis, design definition, solution evolution. So strategic analysis also works in a parallel. The elicitation and collaboration also is being executed in a parallel path, and so on and so forth. So this whole cycle, this every arrow touching every other boxes, is a clear depiction. It's a complex process. It's an iterative process nowadays. Okay, we're going to learn how we execute in a step-by-step fashion. Now we understood what needs to be done. We understood the input. We understood the task. We understood the output. Right. Now let's try to understand what type of tools do we need to make sure it happens in a size and right. So there in business book or in overall business analysis community, we develop a model. Build a model called business analysis core concept model. What it does is basically makes us understand how this conceptual framework to be implemented in a given business analysis profession, how this framework can be adopted in a day-to-day life of a business analyst, right? And that's what we're going to learn now. Let's try to understand key terms. Now BA books clearly highlights all the importance of key terms, and we can understand from a BA book, if you really refer to a BA book about the steps and these things to be covered, what we have depicted in this 6 knowledge area, let's make a complete concise business analysis process, right? And to support to that, there are certain documents, there are certain tools which we're going to learn to make sure you don't miss it, you don't miss a requirement. How do you do that? Let's start working on that. We build some requirements classification schema. That's how in North America they discuss this thing. A requirements classification schema. So identify labels or types of requirements. So what do you mean by labels and types of requirements? As we see, there are functional requirements, there are non-functional requirements, there are strategic requirements, and so on and so forth. So we classify these requirements for a given solution, given project, given services. We classify these requirements. We prioritize this requirement in terms of stakeholders requirement. There are some requirements which needs to be addressed in the next month, next week. There are some requirements can be addressed in the next few months, like 3 months, 4 months, and so on and so forth. So we classify the requirements on priority. We classify the requirements on types of requirements. We also classify stakeholders. We define their roles. We define their groups. Like these are the strategic stakeholders, like the CIOs, CTOs, VPs of the world. Then there are executives like HR executives, which can really help me in day-to-day workings of attendance management. How do they manage current attendance management? If I give them an iris scanner, how they're going to work with it, how they're going to collect this data, how they're going to validate, what type of forms they need to validate the Ravindra's attendance for a last month, or the leave applications approval, and so on and so forth. So I closely work with stakeholder so that the business analysis activities, whatever going to change, are being accepted by stakeholders. So there's an acceptance also in the analysis part, right? And this is what the solution evolutions also talks to. Make sure the solution whichever we've discussed, we've developed, we've constructed is adopted by the client. And this is a part of this is a big part of the scaled agile approach as well. We're going to learn about this adoption of a solution in the scaled agile model, the SAFe, what we call now, in depth. Okay. Then we have requirements and design. Now there are quite a few number of tools, techniques, and models available with us. Be it something like a use case modeling, be it something like user stories, be it something like SWOT analysis. And we're going to learn these things so that we can actually document these things in the most possible efficient way. Okay, which are kind of self-explanatory. I don't have to translate the document for anybody, and the development team can start working on their own. And if they have anything, they can come to me or go to the client and try to understand, try to clear the confusion or the difficulty if they have anything. Okay, so now we are stepping up to a level where we are trying to understand the tools and technique of it. So I would really request you to go to the previous few sessions and revise your knowledge area. Try to jot down your notes so that we can relate this tool to a particular knowledge area, particular action items, for particular output requirement of the knowledge area. Is it understood? Any confusion there? Anybody have any question for me?
No, thank you.
I'm there to guide you, and I'll guide you through the interviews also. But you need to do your homework. Otherwise, I can't guide you better. Or I'll speak in French and you'll understand in English. There'll be a gap. So you need to do your homework in terms of try to jot down, write down your words in your notes, and then we can relate each and every of these tools to these knowledge area and the output requirement, right? Let's try to understand business requirements classification schemes. These schemes are collected from the BA book itself. And this is the most evolved business analysis process, right? So let's try to revise it. Business requirement, we collect vision. We discuss with these VPs of the world, CIs of the world, CTOs of the world, or product owner of the world, and try to understand their vision, and we convert it into a requirement. So at the end of the day, you're capturing their mind, right? You're capturing their mind into a plain, simple English text. So first of all, I convert the thought process to their linguistics, then I convert to my linguistics. And that's what I call elicitation. These describe the high-level needs of the organization. So when one CIO or VP of a State Farms comes to Patni and talks to sales manager and you about his problems in his attendance management, as a development partner, as Patni or Infosys, we suggest them enhancing the attendance management solution to a centralized solution and equipped with it latest technological advancement like iris scanner, biometric scanner, full body scanner, camera with drones hovering over the grounds and blah 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 thing. There could be endless solutions, but whichever is feasible to them, whichever is really suits their pocket, suits their need, or address their maximum need with the least possible cost, that's what we suggest them. And this is how the overall business vision is transferred to actual solution implementation. So each and every stakeholder requirement is important to us. We describes the stakeholder requirement or a stakeholder group requirement. So there are requirements by these HR people, HR executive. so that they could be able to log in and check out each and every employee's leave records, attendance record, late comings, early leavings, and so on and so forth, right? These are the stakeholder requirements. We address all these stakeholder requirements one by one. You don't have to address it at once, but yes, you have to address it at the end of the day, at the end of the solution project and whatnot you call, right? So those kind of scenarios. We build these solution requirements. We describe these features. We build training material. We describes these requirements into functionalities, into characteristics of a product, how the product should work, will work. And if it's working, so then we'll hand it over to the client. That's the normal process followed, right? So if it's a service, how the service is performing. Do you need to have some training to get this service working for you, or so on and so forth. The result that will meet the business requirement and stakeholder requirement. So unless and until the stakeholder is satisfied with the product completion doesn't matter in any way. So we need to make sure we walk that extra mile. We try to make sure the client understand the need of the product, or rather he understand the need completion of a product. So does it fulfill his needs? Does it fulfill his requirement? If yes, then actually the solution requirements are satisfied. Okay. We also categorize solution requirements grouped into functional and non-functional requirements. We discussed about that, right? Functional requirements are basically behaviors of a product. It should get the data elements of an employee coming into office. This is like how the attendance is marked, right? The examples includes action, processes, data, interaction, and that product should execute. So whenever there's an attendance management system implementation, that system must record attendance. So whenever employee puts iris scanner, his iris against the scanner, it should notify the system should notify the name, day, timestamp, and the person's attendance to a computer, to a centralized database, so that if anybody runs a report against that database, he or she will get the attendance, and it will basically reflected in relevant records as well. So those kind of functional requirements are satisfied there, right? Let's try to understand non-functional requirement. Non-functional requirements are supplement to the functional requirement and describes environmental condition like speed, efficiency, and other things, or qualifies required for the product to be effective. So when we say the attendance cycle has to be completed within 25 seconds at the max. So we need to understand, does the particular scanner, be it biometric or iris or a full body scan, does it complete its data transfer within those 25 seconds? If not, then the performance requirement has been not non-performance requirement has been not met, right? Or the non-functional requirement has not been met yet. These are the performance requirements. So we need to understand these things and mention in our requirement specification documents, and also make sure it is being tested before handing over product to the client. So whatever performance requirement client have been depicted, discussed with us, has to be met in totality. Then only we can give the product to the client. We can't say, boss, you said 25, but I think this biometric scanner does in 50 seconds. So I believe you need to spend some more time, but I think that'll do. No, it will not do, because that's a clearly requirement violation. That's a clearly non-conformance to the requirement. And this makes the product a failure, because whatever collected as a requirement in totality, if you can't satisfy those requirements, the product might be useless to the client. There are lenient clients who normally go ahead with such requirements, but in a normal business scenario, the requirements is a failure. In theoretical, the product is a failure. Could you understand what I'm trying to say here? This defines the success criteria for product, solution, or support services. So as a business analyst, I need to make sure all such performance criteria are met. And I'll basically tweak and twist the product, or I'll upgrade and enhance the product till these functional requirements have been met in totality. That's how the actual business analyst works on the ground. Then transition and readiness of requirement. These describe temporary ability, such as data conversion, training requirements needed to transition from current as state to the desired future state. Let's say you implemented enhanced attendance solution to state from North American office. But when you go to, let's say, Spain, and you have to install these things at, 3 or 4 different Spanish offices. So you need to make sure the Spanish people, the employees, should be able to mark their attendance. So either you train them on English or you convert your application to Spanish. If there are too many resources which attend offices from that region, you might convert your application to that, regional linguistics as well. So that's you as a business analyst have to decide and mention it so in your requirement diagram. Is English training to the Spanish people is easier, or is your solution change to the Spanish linguistic is easier, cost effective, efficient? We need to design that. It might be a scenario like for first few months you train couple of employees to guide other employees as well, but that's a temporary capability arrangement. In long term, either you make your solution converted to the Spanish linguistic, or make sure everybody understand the English in your solution so that they can manage, notify their attendance on daily basis. I'm just sharing the example with you so that you can understand the transition and readiness in depth. Project requirement. These describe the processes or other condition of the project that need to be made. Let's say you're working in Canada, you're working in Alberta, where the temperatures are really low, and the biometrics you given the iris scanner, you're given trying to get foggy after a couple of attendance, and then you need to always swipe it out with a cloth or something like that. So how do you make sure this thing doesn't happen too often? These are a certain specific instances like the linguistic we talked about, right? These type of instances you need to solve with certain a specific cabin with a bit of elevated temperature so that the scanners work effectively, something like that. So there are certain condition which we need to meet for a certain installation, certain specific categories, and we have to walk that extra mile to make sure these projects get implemented there and get executed as per the needs and the performance they mentioned in our requirement document, right? So these are kind of extra things which might have missed in the requirement, which shouldn't have. But okay, in case we have to make the objective in totality. That's what we call conciseness of a requirement. Okay, then quality of requirement. These captures are a condition or a criteria needed to validate successful completion of a project, deliverable, or a fulfillment of that project requirements, like test certification validations. Normally, whatever test cases we create, like the scenario we check, it should work in so many seconds. Those kind of requirements. We can make sure we build some report out of these test runs, right? We call it test run report. These test run reports are normally shared with the client as a validated fact of your requirement and the product satisfying criteria, so that quality testing has been completed. We have approved quality. See, there's a sticker called quality okay in almost a good number of products, right? That quality okay means we have covered all the requirements, be it a product, be it a solution. This is what a kind of certification or a validation given by the technology partner to the client, saying, okay, these are the requirements you are given, and these are all tested okay by us. And that's what it means. As an end of the solution, creation, the enhancement can take place. The enhancement can start as a new project or solution lifecycle. Does that make sense to you? Have you understand the requirements classification schema or scheme? Anybody have any confusion on this? I know this is a bit of, we do it on daily basis, but these typical technical words, these typical technical linguistics, which we need to learn and need to understand their meaning. So whenever you're talking to an interviewer, we should use these words. These make sure you are working as an analyst for a few years. So that's why we need to work on these linguistic, which really gets us in a chair of a experience analysis. That's what we are intending for, right? So these are really crucial linguistic skills which we need to acquire throughout this session. Does that make sense? Anybody have any confusion as of now?
No, thank you.
Okay. Now, can anybody explain me this diagram? It's very simple diagram. Can anybody explain me this? This is called business analysis life cycle. This is what we do in totality as a business analyst. We have discussed all the 6 knowledge area. Now we are going to learn the tool. So we should learn the process first in totality, how the life cycle. This is just an expansion of these, relationship between knowledge area. But this is a more simpler English. So that's why I want you to try to explain us how this BS life cycle works, or how this BS life cycle gets complete. Can anybody try?
Okay, let me try. Okay.
Please.
Okay. So first is the business requirement. So we
Right.
get down all the ideas. What is the requirement? What is the goal?
Right.
And where we stand now. So from where we stand now to where we are going to go. And so that is a requirement. So the next one is, the real stakeholders from a high level, right?
Right.
So what can be done from here to there? Is that possible, right? Is that possible, or you want to shorten it, go step by step, or what is the vision? So stakeholders probably will give you the budget, or they are the ones who are going to use the system, or the end users, right? And they are the ones who control the business.
Right.
So once you get that, done, just jot it down. That is timestamp, or we put the timestamp. Then once they agreed, what are the things that are required to fulfill the needs, right? So then I have to have this one. For example, if you are doing software, I need this software, I need this hardware, I need so many people to work on it, and yeah, and I need to send so many people work on it. And also you do some kind of transition requirement. So from here to here, are we going to jump straight away there, or we are going to slowly change the ways of working and train the people out there to have a feel of the new software? So as and when you develop, you have a team in Agile, so that they will test it out. Oh, this is how the new function works. This is what was working earlier. Are you comfortable with it? So the new ways of working, and you just make use of, just them, get them acclimatized for the new things. And once you go there, then you decide, right, as you said, okay, do I need some in-between people to train this, or straight away that they can jump in there? And when you do the final one, like it's a non-function, it comes. So did we take care of security? Did we take care of the end goal? Did we achieve what we wanted to do? Are there any gaps where we can improve? So this is like a cycle, and then you get a sign off and say, okay, we did it within this budget, or this is also give them a future scope. Okay, so this is what we want to do, but we are here, and to do this, these are the other steps that we need to do.
These are the gaps, right? Very right. Perfect, sir. You explained in really, great terms, frankly speaking. Anybody else, want to try or have any confusion in how Srinam ji have explained? Anybody? Have you understood this BA life cycle?
Yes.
Yes, no?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead then. This is the simplest diagram. You can get it printed and keep ready at your desk or something, so that you can explain to the interviewer about your BA life cycles, right? So this is a really good diagram, simplest possible diagram. This basically gives you the actual technological implementation of a BA. and it covers all the knowledge area. So I'll get this thing printed and keep ready. But to actually explain, I might refer to this diagram saying how the overall BA life cycle have been performed by a business analyst. Okay, and this is plain simple English. So you can try with this first, but we need to reach at this diagram on some day, so that we will be able to explain all these 6 knowledge area to the interviewer, to our team as a business analyst leader. Okay, let's move on. Now, what are the things we do as a business analyst? If somebody asks you, what do you do as a business analyst, right? So these many thinking we do. Let's try to understand one by one. Creative thinking, yes. You need to understand the problem. You need to give a solution, right? There's a thinking involved, and we should create out of the box solution. We should create conceptualized solutions. We should work on decision making. We have to think how the decision has to be made, what type of facts and figures the top management requires to make a decision. So provide with them with those things. How the clients, the stakeholders are going to learn how to get working on this new software, new piece of software, how they're going to use this biometric scanner. Because when you implement biometric scanner in a company like State Farm, these are insurance guys, they're not technical guys. They might not have seen the iris scanner or a biometric scanner. So you need to teach them which thumb you use, left or right, which eye have you calibrated, right or left, and how the actual calibration works, how the attendance is being captured. Then try to be a problem solver also. You're solving the problem of a attendance management, right? So how to solve it the best possible way, how to efficiently solve the problem. That's requires thinking. Then system thinking. How do we adapt to an IT solution? Because a computer needs to understand in a way of human working, right? So bridge those gaps. How data elements of a typical attendance being captured? Do I have to capture name, timestamp? That's a necessity. Do I have to actually think about the locality region? Yes, that's also needed, because all these leaves are regional based leaves, right? Okay. Now timestamp is generic, but do I have to understand the time at locals? Yes, because I need to mark late coming, I need to mark early comings, I need to mark early leaving, late leaving, and all those flora and flora of the world, right? So those kind of scenarios. So I need to interpret the thought process in a computer way, and that's what we call system thinking. Then we have conceptual thinking. We have to build a high level diagram. We have to start thinking about the solution. It can be at a conceptual level, but still it's a conceptual thinking. We need to build a concept from our thought process, build the concept from the vision shared with us, something like that sort, right? And then we have visual thinking. We need to imagine if a State Farm have 10 offices or 10 gates on a ground floor to enter to the building. How many biometric systems should I put? Should I have 20 like each side of the door? Should I have just one per door? Or should I build another door in front of this 10 door and saying everybody should enter through this door, like we do that for the security screening, right? If you go to an airport, there are so many gates, right? But you have to just enter through a couple of gates, that wooden frame, which normally beeps whenever you go in with the metal belt buckle or metal shoe or whatnot, right? So those kind of scenario. So I need to plan it, I need to visually think the solution and then build it. So all these type of analytical thinking and problem solving skills are needed by business analysts, so that if somebody asks you, you can tell them these really crucial point for a business analyst. Let's take a step further. Now if you look at the PM book, as I told you, right, BA book is for BAs, PM book is for the project managers. Now let's try to understand from a project manager point of view how he or she expect requirement from you, right? The SRS basically. But let's take into depth, and this is how even the PMI depicts. This is a slide I took it from the project management PM book. Okay, here we start with a project charter. Now project charter is a document which we normally call as statement of work, initial contract, legal binding, SLA, service level agreement, and all those labels, they normally called as project charter in project managers documentation. So all these contracts are inputs for this requirement documentation. So whatever SRS document you're going to make, you have to include these contracts, SLAs, whatever we sign in the analysis phase itself. And these are also normally missed by many business analysts. They feel we work in advisory capacity, but you have to include these documents in your SRS as well. Normally, in a given IT company, they keep SOWs and all those financial documents separate. So this project charter just refers to overall vision of the solution you are building. So this project charter just will depict enhancing attendance management solution for a State Farm in all offices, something like that. So we normally depict the business objective in our SRS in a chapter called project executive summary, and that is normally referred as a project charter. Then project management plan. This is again the conceptual plan of phases rather than actual day-wise or month-wise project plan. This talks about client needs a product before Christmas. Clients need a product before the quarter to end. So something like that sort. So we build overall broad level construction plan, which is suggested by the client, which is discussed by the client, or which is told by the client to us in a meeting, or whenever he is approving a document or something like that sort, right? So we build this thing and the project documents. So whenever I work with State Farm, they might give me some documents in terms of where are the offices, their addresses, nowadays their location points, their linguistic challenges, their timing in terms of standard GMT or North American EST timings, and so on and so forth. So these kind of business document, which is supplied by the clients, are called business document or business supplied documents or client supplied documents. So these documents have to be archived on the cloud nowadays because we work remotely, and all these documents are in a digital format. They can be as bad as image or as good as the Word or text file, or really good animations to make us understand in depth and something like that sort of, right? And then there are some certain agreements on top of these SOWs or SLAs. We build some agreements wherever we normally depict like, okay, these offices will need biometrics, these will offices need iris scanner. So there could be a compromise in terms of resultant solution. Does that deteriorate the solution? It can, but we as a business analyst, we should make sure the efficiency is not compromised in these alternative plans. So these type of agreements have to be also collected and included in our SRS. And then we have enterprise environmental factor. Now these are, as I discussed, in Spain you have to learn Spanish. In Rome, well, in France you need to learn French, something like that sort. So are there any factors which are affecting the requirement in terms of regional linguistic as we think about the global solution of State Farm attendance management? So something like that sort. These environmental factors play a very crucial part in a product development, project development, or solution understanding. And almost all the knowledge area in PMBOK needs to be taken environmental enterprise environmental factors as an input, even organizational process assets. Now, what are organizational process assets? Let's think of an organization which normally working on ISO 2000 framework. Have you heard of ISO, CMMI? Anybody? Anybody heard of these, quality framework adoption to an organizations?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, yes, as I told you, these are a quality framework which are adopted. These quality framework are specific for a specific domains or specific product, manufacturing unit. For auto manufacturing, they might have ISO 2900. For infrastructure, like the computer making industry, router making industry, they have ISO 2377. So these type of quality framework adoption has to be considered whenever you are building product for them. So whenever I'm building a product for State Farm, I have to make sure if it's a CMMI level 5 company, so that I'll have all this documentation which is ready for that product at the quality maturity levels. These are called quality maturity levels. CMMI 5, CMMI 3, ISO 2000. These are also called as qualitative framework adopted by a given organizations. So this is how I'll make sure all these 7 input factors are converted or are covered in my requirementation documentation called system requirementation specification and RTM, requirement traceability matrix. We had a look at RTM last time, right? Any confusion at this point?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm sharing this earlier with you. We're going to repeat this whenever we work on the PMI capsule, so that you understand the tools in depth, whatever you're going to learn. And most probably we'll learn from our next session. But let's have a review of what we're going to learn in our next session. So we are going to learn or start understanding tools from our next session, which will be, let's say, if you're working on requirement gathering, what type of techniques you use. There are brainstorming, there's a document analysis, there's a focus group called subject matter experts, there's an interface analysis, there are interviews. You meet somebody, take down interview, take down minutes of meeting, you observe some process. These are observation made for certain robotics based implementation and all, but yes, observation is also part of requirement gathering. Then you go to create some surveys, you build some web pages where if there are users across the globe, you build these surveys to gather your answers from all these distributed users. You do some prototyping. So if you are working on some really crucial time bar or costly project like building a satellite, building a robot, those kind of scenario, we will build a small part of the whole project and then test it. This is what we call prototyping. Gather the preliminary requirements so that you use to build an initial version of a solution. It's called proof of concept, POC. That's how it's referred in typical IT area. Okay, so these things we're going to learn in our next session, and then we'll go into deep dive in the documentation, and then we start working on high level diagrams, right? Business process diagrams. And these are the diagrams we're going to draw by ourselves. We'll discuss about a couple of solutions and we build this diagram for you, right? So let me conclude today's session here. Anybody have any questions or confusion that I can address right now?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for this, and thanks a lot for your time. I'm going to share the link of this session also, so you can go through it. Please get down, spend some time, build some notes on these 6 knowledge area, so that you can relate these tools to a particular output, particular input, particular task in a business knowledge area. So which tool we are going to use it more often, which tool we are going to use it far and few, and we'll basically dwell on in that strength or in that capacity. Okay, so let me conclude today's session here. Let's meet on today is Wednesday, right? So we meet on Saturday then, right? Yes. So we're going to meet on Saturday the 18th at 9 p.m. EST. Okay, thanks a lot for your timing, and have a great evening. Great night.
Is it not Friday?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Is it Friday or Saturday?
Saturday, sir. No.
Saturday.
Yes, Saturday, sir. Okay, I have my cyber security classes on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I have kept this class on Tuesday, Thursday. No, sorry. We have our class
Monday,
on
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
and
Saturday.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. You're right. Sorry, I'm confused between this Indian day and American days. Pardon me for that, please.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good one.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you.